Hi everyone, welcome to Bookish Nook and welcome to my first wrap-up and to-be read video. In December, I read 10 books and 5 graphic novels. So let's begin. The first book of December I read was Last Sacrifice by Richelle Mead. I really enjoyed this book because it wrapped up the series really nicely and not in a cliched or annoying way. I talk more about this series in my top 13 of 2013 video. The next next two books I read was The Sea of Monsters and The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan. I really enjoyed this series. I liked The Sea of Monsters better than The Titan's Curse because of the character introductions that are there. Although both books are fantastic and funny, and there are just so many parallels to the way I'm feeling with that I was with Harry Potter, that I'm really enjoying this series and I'm excited to see where it's going next. The next two books I read were part of the series, and that is Bloodlines by Richelle Mead. I picked these up after I finished Last Sacrifice and was pleasantly surprised to find out it wasn't just a stupid spin-off series for more money. Sydney Sage was always an interesting character to me in Vampire Academy, so I'm really excited to see where her character is headed in this series. Her character progression is really interesting, and I'm really excited to finish this series. I also read Sentinel by Jennifer Armentrout, which is the 5th and final book of the Covenant series. This also wrapped up the series very well. Jennifer Armentrout is, as you know, is one of my favorites, so I really enjoyed where Alex and Aiden's character finished in this story. It was very heartbreaking, but happy at the same time. I also cried a little bit. It was really good. So if you haven't read this series, I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you've read Vampire Academy and like that. I also talk about this book and this series more in my top 13 of 2013 video. The last book that I read is A Beautiful Wedding by Jamie Maguire. This is the second and a half book in the Beautiful series, I think it is. I don't know. It follows Beautiful Disaster, then Walking Disaster, which follows Abby and Travis's character, who are an unlikely couple who make it despite all odds, obviously. This is a series that I really would have enjoyed just the one book rather than Walking Disaster and Beautiful Disaster. I felt like this book was just sort of kind of over the top and cliche, but I still enjoyed it and their characters are so lovable that it's hard not to read anything that has to do with them. So I definitely enjoyed this as well. I also read The Edge of Always by J.A. Redmersky, which I did a review video which I'll link below if you'd like to hear more about that. But I also read Bittersweet Love, which is part of the Dark Elements series by Jennifer Armentrout. This is the prequel to the series that is coming out later this year, which is the first book is called White Hot Kiss. This series is about gargoyles, and I was a little skeptical when I started reading it, but it was actually really fun and exciting. The prequel is nice and short, and you get a sense for the two main characters. It's definitely worth checking out if you're into, I guess, paranormal. It's really exciting. And the last book that I read this month is the Ever After of Ella and Mitcha, which is the 4th in the Secret series. This is another series that I would have enjoyed just the first book only if it was only that one part of the series. Ella and Mitcha's progression as characters really runs deep within themselves, because they are best friends who sort of finally fall in love with each other, and that's the rest of their story. But the first book is definitely worth checking out, and if you did like their story, the rest of the series also is really well, and you should check that out. So yeah, those are... Oh, and I also read the first 5 of the Walking Dead graphic novels. I really enjoyed these. There are some parallels to the show, and then there are some different ones, but it's definitely worth checking out even if you like the show or didn't like the show, because there are different elements, which I also talked about this more in my top 13 of 2013. So those are all the books and graphic novels I read this month. For the January to be read, I have 5 books that I would like to try to get read, but I don't know if I will because school's starting up. So the first one is Misbehaving by Abby Glines, which is part of the Sea Breeze series. This follows Jack Stone's brother. If that means nothing to you, you should check out the series starting with Breathe. The series starts out as a young adult series, but then progresses more into new adult, which I talk more about in my top 13 of 2013. The second book I would like to get read is Finding Cinderella by Colleen Hoover, which is the next novel, I guess you could say, or the companion novel of Losing Hope. So it goes Hopeless, Losing Hope, Finding Cinderella, which you have to read in that order. The next book that I'd like to read is Hopeless, which I am about almost done. I think I have 20 pages left. So I will definitely finish this. This is also the signed limited edition copy. I'm really excited to finish this and start Finding Cinderella. I'd also like to start and finish The Darkest Minds and Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. I've heard so many great things about this on the booktube community, so I figured I would try them. I'm excited to read those. I also want to try to read as many other volumes of The Walking Dead as I can. So that's my plan for the next month, and hopefully I can get through as much as I can. Bye!